welcome. What was so appealing about this opportunity?
Well, number one, I'm originally from the West Coast, and growing up, USC was, the school to be at in terms of college football on the West Coast. So the tradition and lineage that was a big draw. Coach Patterson being here, my familiarity with him and my relationship with him was a big factor. And then, went against Coach Riley for a long time in the Big 12, and year in and year out, that was the toughest offense to defend. So the opportunity to work for him and go against them every day, those three factors for me were what made this thing happen. And just excited about it. Excited to work with the guys.
Hey, Coach, you've worked with Gary for how many years has it been?
So I GA for him for three, and then so that would take me 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, about 13 years. Yeah.
Obviously, there's something good about him that
Yeah.
that kept you around, right?
Right.
But can you just share with us your thoughts on him and why he's been so successful as a coach?
Well, number one, I think in any profession, when you enter into that realm, you gravitate towards people who are successful and have processes that deliver. And so, early on in my career, I was blessed to work with him, and he brought me in under his wing, and gave me a lot of tutelage and a lot of the philosophies that I still believe in and hold true and will continue to carry through my career. I owe to him. But I think number one, he's very demanding, and he sets a standard for the players and the coaches that I think, for me is what you want to be a part of, winning, and the development of the players and coaches. All that for me in my career was very important. And my time with him, we won a lot of football games and developed a lot of great players and impacted a lot of young people. So all those things were huge pieces for me of coming here and joining him. And USC is the kind of program that you can go recruit anywhere in the country, and you can get players from all over, the top of the best. And I'm excited to work with Coach in his schemes and how he develops players and being able to recruit players at that kind of caliber. So all those things for me, I think I'm just super excited, and we've already been at it here for 3 weeks, and I've gotten to know the players here. They've done a really good job. Coach Riley and Chad Bowden putting good players in the building. So this spring is going to be pivotal for us to instill our defensive schemes and techniques, and those guys being, like sponges and soaking that up.
What can USC fans expect to see from the Gary Patterson coordinated defense?
I think number one, you're going to see a very disciplined and aggressive group. There's a very fine line between being, you know, over aggressive and also not being aggressive enough, and we're going to walk that. But our guys are going to be disciplined. They're going to be tough, physical. You're going to see a defensive front that plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and you're going to see secondary players that challenge and contest every shot. So, for us, going against Coach Riley every day in practice is really going to be an iron sharpens iron situation, and I'm excited for that. But I think that's the number one thing that people are going to see is a physical group, a disciplined group, and an aggressive group.
Coach, thank you. Ryan Carson, LA Times, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I know Coach Patterson's talking about how much this defense has evolved
Mhm.
over the course of his efforts at TCU. Obviously, you were there for a lot of those years. How did you see the defensive scheme evolve over that time, and what maybe lends itself to being able to change that scheme?
Yeah, I think, when I got to TCU in 2012, that was our first year in the Big 12 conference, right? And at that time, the Big 12 was very much a spread, throw it all over the yard type of conference. And then over time, and really when Coach Riley took over at Oklahoma, it became more of an 11 personnel, big sets. How do you get the defense to kind of play the run and throw it over the top of them? So we've had to evolve through that time period. I haven't had a lot of time to really examine the Big Ten and what this conference will present. It's got a reputation of being more physical and a running conference, not so much a spread it out and throw it all over the yard. But I know for me and Coach, we feel like we're going to put our guys in positions to be successful. You got to get takeaways. It doesn't matter, what conference you're in. If you can get the ball to the offense and give them extra possessions, that's going to be a big deal for us. So we got to get takeaways, and we got to be able to defend in the red zone, make them kick field goals. So those things will hold true. But like I said, I'm excited to go against Coach Riley because I know some of the things that he presents as an offense coordinator and some of the things that he's always done is going to make it tough on us. And I'm just excited to practice against that every day.
What are your early evaluations of Christian Pierce, Kennedy Urlacher, and Alex Graham?
Really, really bright people. Christian's out right now because of the surgery. Kennedy and Alex have looked really good in off-season workouts. The whole group has done a great job of really just being, positive with their mindsets every day. You can tell they're showing up to the building ready to work, ready to learn, ready to get better and improve. So, for me, just excited to deal with that and to be around that group every day.
Hey, Coach. Coach Patterson talked a lot about kind of forming unity among the defensive staff.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is there a new coordinator, but a couple of new assistants. How's that process going so far? I think you said the last 2 weeks or so since you've been here, and how important is that unity to, you guys being able to effectively work with players?
I think it's huge, man. Cohesiveness within the staff is a big deal. You hear the word culture thrown around a lot in, football, whether it's the NFL or in college. But that starts with the staff. Being around these guys every day, and kind of having that bunker mentality. You want to be around people that you like to be near and work with. So everybody right now is, getting comfortable with Coach and what we're going to do and ask our guys to do defensively. But I can tell, just from my time here, we got a bunch of bright guys in the room. Sean Nua, Mike Eckler, Trevon Reed. All those guys are really bright coaches, and I'm excited to work with them. And then all the other support staff that we have in there, I think it's a really good group.
Sorry, quick follow-up. Obviously, you worked with Patterson for a long time. How much confidence do you have in his leadership to be able to bring that group together? I know you've probably seen it many times before.
Sure, yeah, a bunch. I mean, that's one of, I would say, Coach's, strengths is bringing people together, getting guys to be one voice, one heartbeat. And he's going to have to do that with staff, and I think we've taken some good steps. And then I think the other part of that, like he said, is getting that, to trickle down to the players as well. So.
You guys at TCU had some of the best results of anybody in the country with defensive backs, which you were obviously a big part of. What are some of your basic demands that you have for your guys in the secondary? And I might follow that up with a recruiting question too.
Okay. So for me, I think the number one thing you look for in a DB in our system is they have to be able to run. They have to be explosive in short area spaces. Football is a space game. They want to spread you out and find matchups, right? And then if they can get you to come in tight, they want to try to find matchups on the outsides and go after our corners and things of that nature. So I think for us, we want to find guys that are really good in short spaces, but also have great makeup speed, can run. And then the second piece of that, you want to have guys that have football instincts, guys that understand formations and understand leverages, can see things before they're about to happen, right? They have anticipation. I think in the back end, you're the third level of the defense. So, you want to have a good understanding of what routes are coming so you can position yourself in the right position to make plays. You also want to be, on your toes, because if they motion or shift or do something formationally, you're going to have to make checks. You're going to have to get those linebackers, corners, maybe even sometimes the D-line in a better call. And so you want guys that understand those things and have a feel for those. You don't really get a grasp of that until you start to know a young man and get him on campus a bunch, and then you can get in front of them and kind of, quiz them or ask them questions to kind of show what he knows from a football standpoint. And then I think the other thing to me with this new landscape in college football is you want guys that are loyal. You want guys that USC is my dream school. Whenever you hear stuff like that in the recruiting process, that just to me makes things a lot smoother. You're not having to manipulate or convince a kid to come to this place. They want to be here, and if they want to be here, that's going to go a long way when they hit adversity. And so those things are important. But I think the number one thing with coach is, hey, we got to have guys that can run and can cover. They're going to be physical because that's what's going to be asked of them here. But those are the things that I think over the years and in our tenure at TCU we always looked for.
There were a good number of 2027 prospects that had been identified prior to you guys coming here. Have things changed? Are you guys now evaluating new personnel in that regard? And what's the process for you with recruiting?
I think the first thing you have to do when you come to a new program and you have a new group of players is you have to look at what you have in the room right now, right? How many seniors, how many young players did they just recruit in the number one class they just had, right? So you have to look at those things and kind of forecast a little bit, right? You want to build a room that has cohesion, but you also want to build complementary pieces. So it takes time to do that. And I think here in the last week, I feel like we've started to kind of move in that direction where we're starting to really turn our eyes to the 27 group and, getting some of the guys they've already offered, maybe re-offer or reestablishing that connection with me because I'm the new coach. And then also looking at some of the guys that they hadn't been recruiting, right? And offering those guys or finding ways to, invite them to campus this spring so we can get to know them as well. So I think it's it's a process that you really have to be tedious about. You can't just go recruit lists. You can't just go recruit guys just because, whatever recruiting service says they're great and not say anything negative about that, but you have to find guys with the right fit, and not only with their athletic ability, how they fit into the scheme, but also with their personalities and their wiring. So that's important. Hi.
Haley Sawyer, Arch County Register. Thanks for being here. When you and Gary were at TCU, you were known for having defenses that were very smart and very well prepared. So I'm kind of curious, as a coach, how do you know that your defense is smart and they're really grasping what you're telling them?
The number one way is practice. The way you set up practice. You find ways within your practices to, put guys in position so they can learn and they can really grasp the concepts that we're teaching. You have to be a good teacher. I didn't get into coaching because I loved anything else but the education piece. I was an educator and then moved into the coaching space. So when you get into settings like this, you want to make sure you do a really good job of teaching them what it is they have to be ready for at practice, that week of the game, so on and so forth. So, Coach P takes a lot of pride in making sure the guys are prepared and making sure the coaches are prepared for what we're doing, what we're installing. When it comes to game plans, how are we going to attack people? How are we not going to let them, attack us, or we're going to make them play left-handed, things like that. But I think it's all in the way you set up practice and, asking the guys to really make practice harder than what a game would be. If they do that, our belief is that they're going to sink to the level of their training. It's kind of a Marine Corps thought process. Is if they train really hard, when it gets hard on game day, they're just going to sink to the level of their training. So that's really, our thought process on that.
Do one more, Coach. Thank you. You said you were in education. What
Yes, ma'am.
role as an educator?
So I wanted to be a teacher. When I got done with my college career, I was in the Sacramento area working on getting a teacher credential. I was going to be a high school teacher and a coach, and I got the chance to get back into college coaching, and so I did it. And 17 years later, here I am at USC. So it was a great decision, I'd say.
Coach Patterson talked a little bit about how his defense call, one call for your defensive backs, one call for the front seven. Being that you were with the defensive backs, how does that work in practice? What are like the advantages of being able to have different calls?
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage is it gives you flexibility. You don't want to, as a defensive coordinator or as a defensive coach, you don't want to be stuck in a call that is going to make it to where your kids are going to look over the sideline and kind of look at you like, what were we supposed to do there, right? You always want to give them an opportunity to fix it and be in a position to defend and make a play, right? And that's what his scheme allows. When you have those things working independently of each other, you give the front a chance to make a play and to get off a block and to overplay something that offense is doing. And then the secondary is fit around them so that they can leverage and protect the front. So those things to me are, I think, key pieces to his scheme and what he's going to do here. And I'm just excited for the chance to put these kind of athletes in it. So,
Thank you, Coach.
thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.